Business Connections Live, the UK's leading online business channel. This is Business Connections Live with Steve Hyland.
Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and business owners. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking about Google Ads and Google AdWords. It's going to be an interesting and fascinating program today. If you've been thinking about doing pay-per-click and maybe that kind of area, how do you go about maybe promoting your business? And really, is that kind of digital strategy, that digital advertising, is it still the done thing? And if it is still the done thing, how do you go about doing it right? My guest on today's show is Dominic Renshaw. He's a Google AdWords expert. He also has a company as well called adextra.com. Dominic, great to have you with us on the program today.
Great to be here, thank you.
It's a funny old world. When we started talking about doing this and talking about Google AdWords, it seems to be that it is a minefield out there at the moment. You can get it so right because you hear the stories and they say, yeah, we tried a bit of this old pay-per-click and it cost us a fortune and we got no results back from it. Before we get onto it, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, background basically is I started off in Selfridges, Harrods, then Shell. Then I moved on board a company called Spice. Then I set up AdExtra, give or take 2011, 2009, somewhere in that area. So I've had a lot of background in advertising, in marketing through the other companies. And then obviously owning my own business, Spice, for a long time. I've got a lot of background in there as well. And the company's been going 8 or 9 years now. So
you specialise in the whole area of using Google to advertise customers and clients.
Correct.
The first question I would ask, is it suitable, do you think, to use that technology and that kind of platform for every business and every business size? Yes and no.
I'll say that in two ways, actually. Because yes, it's worth trying in every business, but there's certain businesses that it wouldn't work for. Purely because of my knowledge, we've been advertising on the platform now for a long, long time. And we know, as a general, which ones work and which ones don't. So, for example, general services like plumbing, electrics, anything like those, absolutely excellent for those sort of businesses. But if you want to, for example, take on a specific chef for a restaurant and you want to advertise for that job, no, it isn't. Mm-hmm. It sounds strange, but there's certain things that do work and certain things that don't.
So you're saying then the service industries is absolutely ideal for if you're offering a particular service to what you see as a mass audience?
Correct. Services are brilliant, but products are as well. Because whenever you search on Google, you'll notice at the top you get these pictorial ads. I don't know, printer, for example, a certain type of printer. They are brilliant for doing that, and that's Google Shopping, which I'll talk about as well. But it's very, very good for products and services. But what it may not be very good for is something very specific like a job. And that's just an example. But 99% of businesses out there, it is absolutely ideal for and essential for, I'll be honest with you. Because in this day and age, we come across a lot of businesses, SME businesses, that still spend a high proportion of their budget on the old type of marketing, whether it's paper marketing, for example, and a very small portion of their budget on digital marketing. Now, we all know the web is overtaking the world. Let's be honest, how many times you spend on your mobile phone on a daily basis just looking at it? It's crazy. That is where marketing has changed over the years and where it's essential to be in that marketplace.
But we do hear the story a number of times. I mean, I was in the radio industry for a number of years, and people say, well, we tried radio and it didn't work. Yet we have, I think, over 100 commercial radio stations in the UK, all making money. It can't be all a lie. Some of that advertising for the repeat advertisers must work somewhere, some of the time.
Certainly does. Now, this is where a lot of things happen with any marketing strategy. You need to do a lot of things. No one thing will work on its own. For example, radio, TV, Google advertising, Facebook advertising. None of them work on their own. Everybody jumps from platform to platform now. And if you have everything firing, your marketing strategy will work. If you just decide to try one, then go, oh, that didn't work, try another one, that didn't work, you will get nowhere. You have to try several things because it's called attribution. So they bounce off each other. Somebody will go, for example, on Google and see an ad. They'll click the ad. They then go onto Facebook. Strangely enough, the ad will flash up again. They'll then go onto a different platform and see the ad again. By the third or fourth time, they're now involved, and that's when they start inquiring about the service or product.
It's very interesting because I once ran an advertising campaign on a London radio station for a client, and the feedback we had was that when their representatives were going into their customer sites, they would say, "We saw your ad," and people, once it starts to get into their bones, they don't know whether they've seen it, read it, or heard it.
Exactly. And that's when you ask somebody, where did you see us? They always say the internet. They never tell you where on the internet. They'll say the internet. It's the default. And that's exactly what it is all about. You see millions of ads every day without even realising it.
I think there's a big misconception. People don't really understand what is happening when they are searching on Google. So what is Google trying to achieve, and what is the process that Google is taking the person who is searching through when you go online?
Basically, what Google's trying to do, whether it's ads or whether it's just a normal listing, they're trying to get the most relevant thing at the top. Because the logic's been for Google is that if you get the relevant thing at the top, you'll click that, you'll want to use Google again. And that's why they are so good at what they do. If they put rubbish at the top, would you carry on using the search engine? You'd move elsewhere. So even the ads and the SEO is what's most relevant, hence why Google's algorithms change all the time and no one can really keep up with exactly what they're doing. But it is all about relevance. So say, for example, an ad, what actually happens right at the start? When you search on Google, and there's a billion searches a month, there's that many, Google goes, what is relevant? So for example, the keywords of an ad, it might be Plumbers Reading, for example. That keyword go, is that relevant? Is your ad relevant? If your ad's relevant, is your website relevant? And that all goes into the same search in a billionth of a second. And then, you then go into the auction. From the auction, then it's decided whether your cost per click, how much you physically pay on the ad, and what quality that ad is. And if that works, you appear on Google. That's as simple as it is.
It does make Google sound very benevolent, doesn't it? It makes them sound like they're doing you all a big favour, but I'm sure that their algorithms and the way that they operate, the whole idea behind it is for them to make money, and as much money as they possibly can.
Without doubt.
So Google have an ulterior motive or methodology behind what they're doing? So they're saying to you as a customer, yes, use these appropriate keywords, but they're also going to be driving to increase their sales too, aren't they?
They are. They're a business. Let's be honest, they're a business. They're making money. But what they're doing is, their business is their platform. Now, if you want to use their platform to promote your goods, which in essence you do because it's the largest search engine in the world, then you naturally have to pay for that. Now, the art of Google AdWords is how much you pay for that. And that's the difference. If you're good at what you do and you can get the right quality score and the right keywords, you can pay a lot less than somebody else who's got it wrong.
And is that where the problem is, that right or wrong? Because it is very, dare I say this for not getting locked up or sent away to prison or whatever, but black or white, isn't it? It is very much that at the moment. If you do get it wrong, it can cost you a fortune and give you a bad experience.
It can. Well, you say it costs you a fortune because you set your budget. To say, for example, if I set my budget at £10 a day, £300 a month, ballpark figure, you can't overspend from that. Now, if you've got to put your budget in there, so whatever you type in there, you can only spend. So people say they've lost loads of money. Well, why are you typing in £100,000 if you can't afford £100,000? If your marketing budget is £10,000, then type in £10,000. You can't lose any more. But it's all to do with, going back slightly, you've got to understand what keywords you want for your business. Take another step back. What is it you really want to advertise for your business? Take another step back. What is your website saying your business does? We come across this a lot when we actually see a company for the first time. They'll say, we want to, I'm going to take plumber as an example again. We want to advertise on boilers. We want to be servicing boilers. No problems. Let's have a look at your website. Nothing on there about boilers. Instantly. It's like, well, if you want to advertise that, what's your website saying? It needs to say what we're about to do. Fine.
Needs to be relevant.
It needs to be relevant. And you will see it time in, time out. People all of a sudden want to go to new markets. Well, they want to go into their quietest area of their business. That's what they want to try and do. But the website doesn't scream that. And if the website doesn't scream that, no matter how good you are at pointing traffic to it, it's not going to convert into real customers unless the website says
So should we all be thinking about landing pages that are relevant on our website. So if you're going to run a campaign, make certain that the campaign has a landing page, has some process, some procedure that it takes the customer through.
And that's stage one. That's the most paramount bit before you...
So you've now got a structure.
Now got a structure on your web. Once you've got the structure on your web, and you know what you want to advertise, which is easier said than done, sometimes better to talk to people outside of your sphere of your business to say, what does my website really say? What do I say? What do I want to do? Then you've got your website sorted. Get yourself your landing pages, your most important pages with a sales funnel in place so you can then convert these customers you're about to bring to your website.
And if you don't have a sales funnel, for those that don't know what a sales funnel is, you're talking about what?
I'm basically talking about how you're going to capture the leads on the web. Is it a contact us form? Is it somebody's going to call you back? There's lots of different things out there, but it's absolutely paramount you actually go, when this person arrives at my website, what do I actually want them to do? So many websites don't even say, please call me, please email me. They don't actually tell the customer what to do. So the customer looks at it, great product, great service.
Now what?
Now what? And the simple thing is they've never even told it. So that is stage one. Stage two is for the magic of Google AdWords then. To establish.
Right, you're going to start talking about keywords now, aren't you?
I probably am, yes. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm going to talk about.
That has got to be one of the most confusing areas that anybody has. When you're looking at your own website, and let's face it, we've all been bombarded by people who are saying that we will make you number one in the Google rankings for your keywords, which is a bizarre email to receive from somebody who you've never spoken to, you've never heard of before, yet they're telling you they're going to make you number one for your keywords to rank, because they don't even know what the keywords are at that stage.
They don't even know your business.
They don't even know the business at all.
They don't even know you.
So keywords, do you have a strategy for selecting the appropriate keywords for a business?
We do.
In that case, then what we're going to do, we're going to talk to Dominic Renshaw about keywords in just a moment. If you want to find out more about Dominic, you can go to his website, adextra.com. It's a great site, some really good advice there. It may differ when you go to the website in the future because it's just about to be relaunched. But when it comes to Google advertising, then that is the place to go to. It's on the screen right now, in fact. If you want to have a quick look at it, you just go to www.ad-extra.com. Go to the website. There's loads of information on the page there as well. And I think this is quite important. Ask yourself these 5 questions. How do they apply to your particular business, to your organisation? And then that'll give you at least a starting point when it comes to how you're going to go about doing your Google advertising. More from Dominic in just a few moments' time on this edition of Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company. We're live here on a Monday. Nice day today. Lovely weekend, wasn't it? I was out flying my drone yesterday. It was absolutely fantastic. Let's go back a week, shall we? And another subject that a lot of people really don't know very much about, and we should all know about it, and that's how do we price our services or our products. And last week's show we had Mark Peacock. He is the pricing coach. We were talking about why pricing is the most important part of your business mix. How much time do you spend on your pricing? Are you one of those people that price your products so you're in the big race to the bottom? Or are you pricing your products so you're in the big race to the top? Which way are you going with your pricing? Are you selling on price so you keep lowering it to get more customers, piling it high, selling it cheap? Or are you making your product a premium product? Well, whichever it is, this was a great show because it gave some really good advice on how you should be approaching the whole problem of pricing. Now, if you missed the entire show or if you haven't watched it yet, here's a bit of a tease. What happened on last week's edition of Business Connections Live. Now, on today's show, we're going to be finding out why pricing is the most important part of your business mix. And joining me in the studio is Mark Peacock. He is the pricing coach.
So most small businesses undercharge and undervalue what they do. And I think that reflects a lack of confidence that they have in their own services and their abilities, a belief that price is the only way you can compete and win business, and a lack of understanding of how many other ways there are to go about pricing your business so that you can deliver the best value for your customers, but also generate a higher return for yourself. Find ways that you can improve your pricing. I lift up your average selling prices by adding more value. Differentiation is absolutely one of the best ways to do it. So differentiating yourself through your brand, your products, your offering, and putting a premium on that and not being shy of doing so. One of the most powerful strategies that I recommend, particularly to businesses that have one core rate or one core price, is find out or work out a way that you can have at least 3 different tiers of pricing. So I refer to it as premium, standard and entry. Price has a massive influence on our perception of quality. If we see something is priced high, we will believe it offers high value. And the other moral of the story is don't price yourself too cheaply. Warren Buffett, I'm sure all your audience know, is the world's most famous and successful investor. And what he says is that when he's looking at businesses, considering whether or not to invest in them, the single most important thing he looks for is pricing power. And what he means by that is that those businesses that spend as much time working on their pricing as they do their products, their marketing, their customer service, their delivery, whatever it is that makes them great, they are far more likely to be highly valuable in the long run. As every business should know, there are only 3 key drivers of profit: price, volume and cost. Price times your volume minus your costs equals your profit. Now the question I always ask audiences is how much time do you spend thinking about each of those things in your business? My view is that each of those things, price, volume and cost, are all equally important for driving profitable growth. Well, I have 50 pricing strategies.
How many?
50.
50?
50 that I talk about.
Blimey.
And most businesses have only heard of 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Most businesses have heard of cost plus margin,
Yes.
time-based billing, competitor-based pricing, and maybe premium pricing, subscription pricing, and a few others. So the point of me saying that is that there are an awful number of other pricing strategies out there that you could use. So the language that you use, absolutely right, how you position it, how you frame your offering is as important as the number. So I always say pricing is both an art and a science. The science is how do you come up with a number, the art is how do you communicate it persuasively and effectively, even if it's a premium price, so that your audience is convinced that this is something that they want to engage with. I'm Mark Peacock and I'm the pricing coach. What I've tried to explain to you today is that pricing doesn't have to be difficult or scary. There are loads of different ways that you can think about how you price your business and your products and your services. As Warren Buffett says, pricing is the most important part of your business in terms of adding value and creating higher earnings for you. I have 50 different pricing strategies that I use. You can see that there are plenty of different ways that you could price your business and your services. And then finally, I would say if you put price at the center of your business planning and your design thinking, it will put you in a much stronger position for delivering better value for your customers and improving your profits. So if you want to know more, please go to my website, which is markpeacock.co.uk. And also on there, I'm offering a free pricing diagnostic self-assessment. So there's a form you can download and work out for yourself how good your pricing is. So please feel free to contact me via my website, and I look forward to talking to you further soon. Thank you.
Really great show, actually. If you do get an opportunity, Mark Peacock is the man's name. If you're worried about pricing, then that is the show to watch. Fascinating program, so do go along to our website, Business Connections Live. By the way, if you'd like to get in touch with us here, we do all sorts of different things here. Obviously, we do the business program. If you like a program like this one for your organisation, you can turn your readers into viewers and engage more. This is all about engagement these days. People talk about us all having the attention span of goldfish. Last night, I watched The Bodyguard. I sat there transfixed for an hour because I was engaged. Start thinking about your business in a different way and about the way you communicate your business message. Engage your audience. That's what you need to be doing. Make them want to hear what you're going to be saying. Don't just do something so quick that they barely have enough time to reach the off button. What you want is, you don't want them to be reaching for the off button at all. You want them to sit there and go, I'm going to give this guy a little bit more time. I'm going to listen a little bit longer. If you'd like more details on how you can have a program just like that one, well, get in touch with us here. You can drop us an email, of course, to studio@businessconnectionslive.com. It's as easy as that. Or if you wish, why not pick up the phone and have a word with either myself or Linda Bazant. We'll love to chat to you and find out a little bit more about your business. The telephone number is 01784 256 777. You can follow our stream of consciousness, our thoughts, our inspirational thoughts on a daily basis on Twitter at BCL Business TV. You can go to our Facebook page. You can see changes on all our social media over the next couple of weeks, but you can go along to our Facebook page. But if you'd like 300 hours of great business advice for free, well, why don't you go to the website at businessconnectionslive.com. You're watching Business Connections Live. It's great to have your company as always on a Monday, and my guest on today's show is Dominic Renshaw. He is a Google AdWords expert. His company is a fabulous organisation called AdExtra. You can go to their website at adextra.com. Dominic, we were talking before the break about what happens in Google when we search. And then we kind of alluded to the fact we're going to talk about keywords.
Yep.
If I'm being honest, I find keywords one of the most confusing areas because I'm never certain what is meant. There seems to be a lot of terminology out there that says, is it individual words? Is it sentences? Does it have to be the most popular sentence or word? What are we trying to achieve with keywords? Because I will sit there and try to optimize a page and I'm never really certain.
That's interesting, actually. You've actually touched on something very interesting when you mentioned, is it a keyword or is it a sentence? This is something that's changing in the industry quite a lot at the moment. The old style was just one keyword, plumber, for example.
Plumber.
That was it, bang. That's what keywords used to be.
But if you're a plumber, and there may be millions of plumbers, that means you're all competing for that one word.
Bingo. That's the way it used to be. However, it's changed considerably, and this is a lot to do with voice search now. This sounds a bit strange, but all your Google Home and your Amazon Echo and everything else out there, people are now talking to their devices. Even to your mobile phone, you will talk, and you will say, I need an emergency plumber in Reading. That was no longer a small word. It's now a sentence. They're called long-tail keywords, but in essence, they're a sentence.
We'll try this. Alexa, I want an emergency plumber in Reading. Everybody's Alexa is going off now and doing that.
Everybody around the country.
They're all getting an emergency plumber in Reading, yeah.
So you can see over time it's changed from A to B because we're searching differently than we ever used to. If you used to type things into even a PC or a mobile phone, you'd keep it as small as possible because you're trying to type as quickly as possible. But now you're talking, you're more happy to be a little bit longer with what you're talking about. Now I need to take this back slightly. How does that relate to ads and how does it relate to a website? There are two things going on. You inferred about SEO before the break. SEO is search engine optimization. That's where your website appears organically on Google. So you see the ads, below it's the organic. Now the keywords for organic can be different than the keywords for the ads. There's a really important distinction here. So say, for example, your SEO, what you want your organic listing to come up with, you might want the keywords that will have the biggest volume. Get as much traffic free as you can organically. However, when you're in Google Ads, you'll have a list, and you can have a list of 1,000 words for a topic, a product or a service you're advertising for. The top few will be extremely expensive. So ignore them because you've got another several hundred down here. They're more towards the SEO. These ones down here are more towards the adverts. So you're paying less and getting a better return on your investment.
So
very important.
If you're the plumber then, so should we say the top three words might be plumber, emergency, boiler.
Correct.
And so the very strategic things, but down here it could be what kind of words?
For example, it could be boiler installation Reading. That is a keyword term. So boiler installation would be the SEO term. Boiler installation Reading would be more what you would use in Google AdWords. It's more towards being much more specific because you can be. And you can have 1,000 keywords in Google AdWords. You can do the research and make sure you get as many as possible. Because in essence, it's all about what is very specific. That one or two of those keywords may only spark once a year. But if you've got 1,000 of them, some of them be sparking every day. One or two may spark once a year, but they're in there. Whereas you wouldn't want your SEO only sparking once a year.
No.
You'd want it sparking every day. And there is a big distinction in the types of keywords you use between the two areas. You do need both, by the way. It's worth mentioning this, that SEO and Google AdWords go hand in hand.
It's interesting you're talking there about the linguistics that we use and the phraseology that we're using now. For instance, sometimes when I'm typing in and I'm doing a search, in my mind's eye, I think I put the keywords of this sentence in. So I remove the hows, the tos, the ands, and I do all that. So do the sentences, are they different than the way we're searching now? So should the sentence be, I'm looking for something in...
Bingo.
Is it something like that? That's the kind of phrases that we should be using. Because interesting, we ask all our guests to do their forms, to do a prep form before they come in, and we sort of say, think SEO, think 80 characters or thereabouts for the program title. And it was interesting. Yours came back very short.
Yep.
Very specific. And the keywords in there: Google, AdWords,
and ads.
And ads.
Ads was the big one because they changed from Google AdWords and they changed last month to Google AdWords to Google Ads. They've moved from A to B. So strange enough, I didn't want to lose the AdWords traffic, but I also wanted to pick up the ads traffic, so I had to use both. Does that make sense?
Well, yes, it does.
So knowing that information now is why that has changed. And strange enough, why my website is about to change very rapidly, because I need to move with the times from not losing traffic of AdWords, sorry, but gain the traffic of ads because Google has changed. They have rebranded. And will
the key? And I know we're talking about keyword. I think this is so important these days. So will it be Google Ads, or it will be?
That's exactly what it is now. It's called Google Ads.
Google Ads, and that'll be part of whatever you're doing as far as your keywords, and that's what you're looking to rank.
Correct. That's where now that's SEO. I'm looking to.
That's SEO. So for your advertising, your pay-per-click advertising, I'm looking for a company that can help me do Google Ads in Reading.
Yep. Or how do I do Google
So
Ads?
what words shouldn't you be using then, do you think, when you're doing those kind of long tail sentences? What are the words that are wastage or verbiage?
Well, none are wasted, because in essence you can have a list as long as you want. But if they never spark, any good Google advertiser will take them out anyway long term. But you may as well put them up there originally to find out what happens. Pop them into the campaign, see what happens. If they're too expensive or they're bringing in the wrong traffic, you can get rid of them. And that's what's managing it. Because people assume when you set up a Google AdWords campaign, it's similar to the old paper campaign. You've got an advert, it's out there, it's done. It's not. A typical campaign, let's just rewind slightly, will have around 1,800 ads in it, ballpark figure. That's just a standard. So there's a lot of different ads out there with a lot of different keywords. Some keywords are good, some ads are good. But until you start looking at what's coming back, you cannot decide which one's which. There is no point in saying that will work and that will work, or that won't work and that won't work, until it's out there. Let the public decide what works for you. Otherwise, you might be missing a trick. But there are certain words you might not want. Free is a classic example, depending on what business you're doing. Free is a very big one that always comes into Google Ads. People always want things for free in this world. But if your company is set up that you don't offer anything free, whether it's advice, whether it's products or service, you clearly don't want that. So you make that a negative keyword. So if the word free arrives anywhere in the sentence, your ad does not show.
So are there other words apart from free that should be avoided then when you're going down that route? It's interesting. We were listening to a little clip earlier on, and a lot of people do offer free consultations, don't they?
They do.
And the other ones I would imagine is get rich quick schemes somehow. Just steer away from them as well.
I think we've got a list of, it must be 2,000 keywords that come up regularly that aren't very good. And we've got a massive, great list of this that we've collected over the years. And whenever we have a new business come on board, we'll take that list first and run down it to see which ones are relevant to their business. And there's certain ones that are always relevant. Yes, A, B, C, D, they're always relevant no matter which way you play this. But then there's other ones that will relate to certain industries. So as you get very good in an industry area, you'll have a batch of keywords that do not work and you need to get rid of them. Schools is a normal one. A lot of people look for education. A lot of people want to learn how to do something rather than actually bring in a consultant to do it for them. So it's different than learn how to. For example, with myself, we do offer training in Google AdWords, but if we didn't, I wouldn't want somebody coming up looking, how do I learn Google AdWords? The word learn is a negative in that situation.
I understand.
If I didn't offer it, and that is the difference. But this all relates back to understanding the company. Our biggest job before we start any work with any company is understanding what they want it to do. Without that knowledge, there's no point. So if any Google AdWords expert or any SEO expert or any of those come to you and say, yeah, we can do this for you, if they're not taking the time to understand your business, steer clear of them. There's no buts about it. Because if they can't understand your business, how can they advertise it?
All right, so we go down the route, then we put together our list of the words that we think are going to be, that will be relevant to the kind of customer that we're trying to attract.
Yeah.
How do we measure that? Are there tools to measure that? Do we need to go to a consultancy like yours who's got special magic powers and can actually see the results of those searches? Or is there something that if we don't have the budget for, should we say, an organisation like yours, what do we do?
The simple thing to do, if you haven't got the budget, is if you can do, at least get an expert to try and build it for you. It's not that expensive for an expert to try and at least build the structure for you the first time, because then at least you can manage it going forward.
And are there tools available?
There are tools available. Google themselves are very good to try and help you out. But the trouble is, and it's nothing against Google, they don't necessarily understand your company. And if that first bit's not in place, then the rest falls down quite
But I'm talking about things like Google Analytics and stuff like that.
Yep.
Are those kind of tools that, given time, given a bit of, if you've got time within your business, if you find out how that works, will those tools help you actually structure this for you, find out the right words, see what words are working, see what words aren't working?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point actually with the Google Analytics, because Google Analytics is a free tool from Google. And it's an immense tool. It is absolutely brilliant. We use it as part of our tracking. So Google AdWords talks to Google Analytics and vice versa. The two talk together. Google Analytics, you can track just about anything you need. You can see what people do when they come to your website. You can see if they fill out a form, if they ring you from the website. You can see different things. And that's paramount because, one, you can see if Google AdWords is working, but you can also see if Facebook's working. You can see if your YouTube channel's working. You can see all these different channels. But using Google Analytics means you can track them all.
Do you think a lot of people design and build their websites, and to a certain extent there's a certain element of naivety there? They sit back, they put a brochure site up online, and they do very little with it. They don't really see who's visiting it, they don't look at the traffic, they don't see the route they're taking, the footfall, all of those kind of things. I remember doing some work for a shopping centre, and they were absolutely aware every single day the number of people that walk in through their doors.
Yep.
And I mean, we all have our own individual malls online, but we don't watch to see how many people are walking in.
It's actually a very good thing what you just said there, and I use this analogy a lot. I use it as a shop window. You got your Harrods of this world. How many times do their shop windows change? All the time, and they look fabulous. However, go to a website. How many times does your website change? How many times do you actually update it? That's your window to the world, and people don't look at their own website and change it on a regular basis. It's scary to think that that is their shop windows of the world, and they don't do anything with it. But that's...
Do you know, it's interesting. I was looking at reading some stuff about Facebook, and Facebook actually recommend that your picture at the top of your page should be changing at least once a month. Otherwise it becomes dull and boring, or at least a message. Listen, more from Dominic Renshaw in just a few moments' time on this edition of Business Connections Live. This is a big subject, Google Ads, Google AdWords. If you've been thinking about it, if you're trying to buy, I suppose some people say it's a bit like buying an audience, isn't it? You're going out there and you've got a bucket full of money, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring your audience in by spending a budgetary amount that you've got there at the time. The difficulty is that we've already heard identifying the right keywords, seeing which ones work, seeing the ones that don't work, the ones that are right for what you're doing today or for maybe the campaign that you've got. And once you've attracted the audience, how do you capture their names? How do you capture their details? How do you then utilize that information that you've now got? Because, you know, the internet is all about collecting information, collecting data, and then doing something with it. And I know we've got the likes of GDPR, which seems to be a lot of marketeers think is getting in the way of what we're doing here. But actually, it isn't. GDPR is just about the protection of that information, the protection of that data. But what we're saying here is, could be an opportunity for you to get out there, and everybody online is equal. The small guys are as equal to the big guys. The budgets may be different, but with some clever marketing, some clever research, that equal sign becomes more and more relevant as we go down the route. This is a fascinating program. More for Dominic in just a moment on this edition of Business Connections Live. I tell you what, let's just go back a teeny weeny bit, because it's always good to hear some other experts' advice as well. We thought would be quite relevant. Very short piece coming up, but we had a great guest on the programme a little while back. Nigel Risner, you may have heard of him. He is a keynote speaker of note. He comes up with some really key things that we all need to remember. This clip is very short. It's his key takeaways from the programme when he was on the show a little while back. Great pieces of advice. If you want to find out more about Nigel Risner, you can go to our website. Just go onto the search engine, go Nigel Risner, and it'll bring up his program. You'll find also a whole load on Google as well about him. But he is a zookeeper. And here's what Nigel said when he came on Business Connections Live.
We ask clients to turn themselves from limited to limitless. We want people to be in the room, to really model off the very best organisations that are out there, in everything they do to be passionate, take loads of action, communicate like a zookeeper, and most of all, trust themselves and trust the process. It's been an honour to be here, and thank you very much indeed.
Oh, he was off again there. Nigel Risner there on Business Connections Live. It was an absolutely fantastic programme. If you get a chance, watch the entire show. The key thing that came from his programme for me, I was running some training courses last week, and people were sitting there with their phones, and they're all out there, and they're online. They were busy executives, so they had to stay in touch. And the thing that Nigel says is, these people, are they in the room? Are they actually listening to what you are saying? If they're on their phone and they're being distracted, they're not in the room, are they? They're at the other end of that email that they're sending, or that text message. So the next training course that you do, ban the phone. Give them a time to do it. That's going to be important. They're busy people. But when somebody's in the room, be in the room and not mentally somewhere else. You're watching Business Connections Live. My guest on today's show is Dominic Renshaw. He's a Google AdWords expert, or Google Ads expert, as we like to say here on the show. And we're going through the whole process. We kind of looked at keywords, and that was interesting. I suppose the next thing that people are going to be asking is about budgets. Is this going to be really lots of people say they lose a fortune. You've already said that you can allocate a certain amount per day that you're going to spend. But it doesn't matter how much it is. If you feel it isn't working, then it isn't working in your head.
Yep.
So when it comes to budgets, what should we be looking at? What can we expect?
Okay. To start off, if you're a small business, let's take back to a one-man business, somebody's quite small, then they should be spending anywhere from £100 to £300 a month on the advertising side of the coin. Anything less than 100, there's not enough clicks coming through to make it worth it. But you also want to make sure it's working within your £100 to £300 budget before you then start increasing it. That's a small business. Slightly larger businesses, let's say for example a good size SME, then you're looking at probably £1,000 a month to £2,000, maybe £4,000, that sort of neck of the woods. Get it working, and then increase the budget.
So the budgetary per month, you should be, if you're testing it for a small business, £150
to £300 a month. Now, let's say they're testing it. For example, if you're looking at, I keep going back to plumbers, but it could be anything. Look at the job.
Got a fetish about plumbers.
I don't know why it's coming. I don't know why the plumbers keeps coming back to my head. It's like, why is that coming? Anyway, let's do electricians.
It's all the pipe work, you know.
Electricians. Hello. But say, for example, if you've got a geography, let's take around this area, 10 miles around this area, there's certain postcodes in this area. You can set it specifically, Google AdWords, to postcodes. So why not set it to the postcodes you know your business is working well, get AdWords working, and then use that budget that you're getting the customers back for to expand out to the other areas you want to go to. Don't just launch it straight in a new area that you're not in. Get it working in the area you're in, get your campaign working, and then progress outwards. That's the way Google AdWords can work very, very well for you. And that's where you save a lot of budget, a heck of a lot of budget. For
businesses that are plumbers, electricians or services like that, where they are offering a service to a local audience, I can see that working. What about organisations that feel that their local audience is, shall we say, the UK? What do they do then?
Like myself.
Like yourself,
I'm UK. What you then do is look more towards the keywords. You go back to that keyword situation and make sure your keywords are very, very specific. So you haven't got the Google AdWords, for example. I do not have Google AdWords as one of my keywords. It's just too broad. I have Google advertising in Reading, for example. I need help with Google advertising. They're the sort of keywords I'm using. I can use them over the whole geography of the UK, but I already know where approximately my customers are going to be.
So can you do things like Google AdWords in Manchester
You can.
as a keyword within your own keywords?
You can. Now, here's an interesting point, because I can be using my phone in Manchester and I can say Google AdWords help. Because Google knows I'm in Manchester, because it knows where I am, it inserts automatically the word Manchester on the end of it. So I've got the keyword Google AdWords in Manchester as the keyword, but you don't actually type that in, because Google knows where you are. It automatically inserts that in for you. Does that make sense?
When you're searching,
When you're searching.
When you're searching.
But because I've got the keyword, it's picking it up, if that makes sense. So I've gone, I need the keyword, even though you don't actually even say it, or don't even type it, the word Manchester, because it knows with your location on your phone or your laptop where you are.
Right.
But I need it internally, if that makes sense. And that's the difference. It gets missed quite a lot.
That's very interesting.
Very, very interesting point.
All right, so we're looking then, budgets, you reckon £150?
Yep, 100 to 300.
The next thing is that, okay, we've got £150. How did Google actually go about deciding which ads are going to be shown? How do you get
Very
to the
good
top of the list?
How do you get every asset? How do you get to the top of it?
I want to be number one. I want to be at the top.
The way it works is something called ad rank. Now, ad rank is how much you spend per keyword multiplied by the quality score. Now, how do you get what's quality score? Quality score is what the keyword is. Does the ad relate to that keyword? As in, have I got the same text in it? And does your landing page relate to the ad? 1, 2, 3. Keyword needs to relate to the ad needs to relate to the landing page. That gives you a higher quality score. Quality score is 1 to 10.
So the people then that are using AdWords and are driving traffic to a page that is, shall we say, just their general homepage, actually will have a lesser ranking in that.
Correct. And that's the problem. So a lot of people do send it to their homepage because they haven't designed a landing page or haven't gone to the trouble to actually put a page in place that talks about what they're about to advertise. And what happens there is you get a low quality score, because Google in essence is saying, yes, the keyword's right, the ads are right, but when we send people there, they can't find what they want. So in essence, we're going to penalise you for that, which they should. Because when you go to Google, you want to click on something, you want to find the thing you want to find straight away. You don't want to have to go searching around somebody's website to find it. You want to instantly go to that point. So those two are important. How much it costs per keyword, you decide how much that is, multiplied by the quality score. The quality score is the most important bit, by the way. I
take it this is something that you can never ever physically see, or it's just something that you're going to assume that if you do all these things right, it's going to be better. Well, and you see that in the results that you get back from your advertising.
You can see it in Google AdWords. Each one has you get a quality score down the side.
All right.
You see each individual one, and it's 1 to 10. So instantly you can go, that's 10, 10, 10, oh, that's 4. Need to change something here, guys. Need to have a look at why that keyword is.
Is that when you do the search?
No, it's within Google AdWords itself.
Oh, within Google AdWords, right.
This is the sort of thing we do on a regular basis, the day-to-day things you do. But if you're running a Google AdWords campaign, it's something you need to do as well. You need to look at that quality score.
So the quality score is available inside of Google AdWords.
Correct.
When you're setting the campaign up.
Correct. And it's there all the time when the campaign's running.
And the responsiveness of that, if I see that and I then proceed to do a landing page with all the appropriate keywords in it and actually is the payoff, will that change relatively quickly for me to actually see it, or is Google as slow as anything? Or
no, Google's quick.
It's quick. It's quite responsive.
It's very, very responsive.
Because they're taking money from you, aren't they?
They screen your website all the time. So it's very, very quick. And they can also see when somebody clicks on your ad and goes to that page, what they're doing. So if you change the page and all of a sudden things happen, Google will give you a higher score.
All right, so that's important then. So that's really worthwhile knowing.
Now, on top of that, then people will say, well, how much is it going to cost per keyword? That is a very important question.
Well, the question is, I suppose, how much will they pay?
Now, you can be in position 1 paying less than the guy in position 2. You're going to think, what? How on earth does that work? If you're more relevant to what Google wants, you will pay less than the guy next to you who's slightly less relevant. Their quality score is less. So if he hasn't done his landing pages or his research or his even text on his ads as well as you have, you will get position 1, he will get position 2, and you'll pay less than him.
Is there a formula to all of this? Is there somewhere that I know it's what you guys do, it's what your business is all about, but is is there a way of approaching this where when you learn to drive a car, there is a process you go through, but when you're doing this, it all feels that everybody is reinventing the wheel each and every time they start to go down this route.
Yep. There are small formulas in place, but I'll be honest, if anybody knew what Google's algorithms were, they'd be a very rich man, I think. They really would. The principles of Google are very simple. If you put the right stuff at the top of Google, people click on it, interact with it, that's what Google wants. So any formula is very, very simple. You just look at the cost, how much it's going to cost per keyword, multiplied by the quality score. And that's the simplistic view. Obviously behind that is a complicated calculations that's going on all the time. And I don't know that exact myself. I don't think anybody else does. But if you work on cost per click multiplied by quality score, you're going to be 99% of the way there. Simple as that.
When it comes, and we're going to talk about this in just a moment, but I want you to have a bit of a think about it. When we start talking about the return on investment on this, how important is it? I mean, this is the thought, first of all, before we track it, but how important is it to make absolutely certain that we are getting our return on investment? Do you see some companies approaching this nearly on a vanity level?
You do. Return on investment is the most important bit. My logic is very simple. If you can see a return on investment on what you're doing, you will remain a customer. That's the simple maths of it. If we both are sitting there through the tracking tools and we can't see a return on your investment, then, okay, we know it didn't work. But at least we both know it didn't work. And we can go our separate ways. Very, very simple.
And that's the way you work as a business. That's the integrity that you have in your organisation.
It's very simple, because even if you leave us because it didn't work, and we both know it didn't, you're more likely to recommend me than the guy down the road. It's very simple.
Listen, fantastic. I hope you're finding today interesting. Dominic Renshaw is my guest. I think it does... It's a bit like SEO, this, isn't it? The dark art of SEO, the dark art of Google Ads. Whenever you... Maybe the word Google is the whole thing. That's the thing that links it all together. The dark art of Google. I mean, they're there to actually give a proper result to you. They're there to make certain that when you go in and you use their search engine, that what you're actually getting are the results that you are looking for. It's a fascinating area, as always, with Google. But there's so many unknowns, and you've just got to make intelligent assumptions as you start using it. Dominic Renshaw, my guest today. We're talking about Google Ads on this edition of Business Connections Live. Now, lots of things going on. Can we just thank all the people that are downloading the individual different programs on iTunes? Thousands of you are doing it on a month-by-month basis. We do appreciate that. We've been a little bit behind during August, but you're going to find a whole wad of programs that are going to be put up onto iTunes very shortly. So if you've been having withdrawal symptoms for getting a fresh new program each and every week, then that's just about to change once again, and we look forward to receiving more downloads. By the way, also do leave a really nice review. That would really help us if you don't mind. Thank you very much. A 5-star review. It's very easy to do. All you got to do is go along to your iTunes account, look at the program within iTunes, Business Connections Live. You'll see a list of all the programs there. Then go to the ratings and reviews tab. Once you click on that, it'll take you to a part of the site that allows you to write your review and also to leave a star review as well. 5 stars, say what you think. I thank you very much. Say how good Dominic Renshaw's program on Google Ads are, and then what will happen, their analytics will actually then drive other people who are watching similar business programs. When they finish watching that, they'll come and watch us, and the more people who watch, the better it is, because it means that we can go out and we can get advertising for the program, which means that we can bring the program to you. We can bring more programs to you, more varied programs to you. So if you don't mind doing that, that'd be great. By the way, if you want to visit the website, you can. And you may have seen this actually on Amazon recently. We've just recently launched a booklet. It's called How to Handle the Media. It's a guide to interview techniques for television and radio for business. You can download the book if you wish. Instead of paying the $4.99 where you can get it online, you can go to our website and you can download the book there for free. It's an introduction to how you should go about learning how to handle the media. So if you are a bit worried about your brand and you want to make certain that you protect your brand, well, why don't you go to the website and start your media training course for your business by downloading that book today? Simply go to the website, How to Handle the Media Training Course. It's on businessconnectionslive.com, and if you go to the homepage, you'll see that there is a link at the top that says training courses. Link on that and it'll take you to the page where you can download the book for free. It It also shows you what the studio looks like. It also talks a little bit about what we do here at Business Connections Live when we are not doing the programme on a Monday. You're watching Business Connections Live. As always, it's great to have your company. I tell you what, this show has flown by and we've barely scratched the surface today. My guest, it's just barking, isn't it, really? It's just, you just realise that you just don't know what you don't know. And that is the point of this, isn't it? You just don't know what you don't know. So many questions asked. Maybe at least we've scratched the surface where you can start asking. We were talking about return on investment. Dominic, when it comes to return on investment, if you get it all right, what can you see coming back?
Well, the whole idea is what the customer wants to see. Return on investment. It's as simple as that. It's pounds in the business. Is it profitable? That's as simple as it is. But
do people do it for awareness as well?
They do. Brands, awareness.
Brand awareness.
They do it for all different things. So you might be launching a new business, in which case you want your brand out there very quickly. You're willing to spend X amount to get that brand out there. As you become more mature and your business becomes more mature, you're more likely to want, okay, I actually want to see physical profit money coming into the business, and that's the return on investment. But it all depends on what you wanted to do at that time, and that's all reverting back to we understand what the business needs and what it needs at that point in time before we suggest where we're going to go with it. Now, return on investment, how do you track that? That's a very interesting point. The key thing is for the customer, we sit down with the customer and try and understand what a customer is worth to them. A lot of people say, for example, if they sell a product, oh, it's worth X. Well, yes, it is, but what about that return business you're going to get from that customer? And those referrals from that customer? That's what the true worth of a new customer really is. So if you just go on the one-to-one and say, oh, I sold that product and I made myself £50, so I can't spend more than £50 on Google AdWords to get that one customer. Well, hold on a second, that one customer will probably come back to you in years to come. What is the length of that customer? Are they going to refer to you? Get the real honest value of what it is that customer's worth, and then you can work out if Google AdWords can work for you.
Because outside of the vanity, there must be a point where you will say it is actually costing me more than the product value to actually get that customer to buy it. So is this the right way to be advertising it?
Bingo. And they are the questions you should really be asking yourself when the return on investment comes in. Setting up in Google Analytics, you can have a very good idea of how many customers have come in and where they've come from. With one proviso, and this is a very important proviso, a person might go to Facebook and see an ad, then go on to Google and click the ad, then actually see it somewhere else in paper advertising. Which point did they buy your product? And if you take one of those three out of the equation, does that customer sign up?
Well, of course they say, don't they? Statistically, it's 7 touch points, isn't it?
Bingo.
You've got to touch the customer 7 times, matron, before they will actually purchase from you.
Exactly. Hence why never do one thing, do many. But don't take a cog out because you don't think it's working at that stage. Do some real analysis as to whether it is working. Take it out for a month, see what happens. Put it back in.
Well, I was going to say, by saying that, is that the cop-out for organisations and businesses like yours? If it doesn't work, you can say, we didn't do all the other stuff. We did our bit, but the other stuff didn't work. But you're saying, try them all, take bits out, test. And don't assume when you get this working, by the way, which you will, you'll get it working, it's going to be working again in a year's time if you don't do anything else with it. Because it won't. Technology is moving so quickly, if you don't keep up with it, that will then fall down in a year's time. So you can't just go, I've got my sales funnel now, everything's working, thank you very much, my marketing, I'll do the same next year and I'm not going to change this. If you don't, it won't be working in a year's time. I should have asked you this at the very beginning, and I missed it. When customers walk in the door to you and they meet you for the first time, is there a number of misconceptions that they have about Google AdWords that you just roll your eyes in your head and you think to yourself, here we go again? I mean, is there a misconception when people walk in the first time? What are the big mistakes that people make at the very beginning?
The biggest mistake people make is they want it instantly. They want it working tomorrow. They think because it's electronic, it'll work tomorrow. You're probably realising from what we just chatted about how much research goes into the keywords, how much research goes into the ads, getting the landing pages right. You can do the maths pretty quickly. What you think will work when you set it live, only from the data coming back will you realise whether it's working or not. And that can be a 3-month process before you even start seeing a return on your investment. It can be that long. If you want it working in a month, Google AdWords isn't for you. It will not. It will not help I'll be honest with you, you might be lucky and it works straight away because we did get the right things in place and we just happened to get all the things right. But that's very unlikely with the sheer volume of things that are going on. So we've got to be honest, minimum of 3 months, 6 months even better. And then you'll start seeing, yes, this is a viable marketing area that I really need to be in. And as soon as you get it working, I guarantee you'll never drop it.
The linguistics that we use in our ad, what kind of linguistics work the best? Is it buy now? Is it save time? What are you looking for? What's the big proposition that you're trying to get over?
The big proposition, well, there's two things in ads now. They've changed them a lot. But one is get across, number one, what you're doing. So say, for example, it is a very specific product or service. The second part of the title of the ad, you need to pull at somebody's heartstrings. This sounds strange, but I need to understand.
Buy this or you will die.
That could well be it.
Yeah.
But it is pulling at your heartstrings because you buy emotionally. Most people on the internet buy emotionally. So if I can understand what the customers are going to be that we need emotionally, that's the text that goes.
Could you
in
give me an example of?
That's a very good question.
It's a very good. And I know what it's like. I've just put you on the spot. I didn't ask you that before, but can you think of something that is typical of that kind of linguistics that you would use in an ad with the headline and the kind of emotional strap that you would follow it with?
Let's say if somebody's looking to make friends, meet new people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of dating agencies out there. You're going to have to then get the tagline to pull their heartstrings. So you may say words along the lines of, I'm trying to think actually, to be honest.
It's very hard. I know exactly what's happened there. Yeah.
I've gone completely blank on this one. But it's basically saying, if you're going to make friends, live the life you want to live. It's that, I'm trying to sell it to you as this is a life you could have because they want to make friends. This is a life, everybody else is having this life. You can now get this life. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of the exact words, but that's the principle of that.
Which, to a certain extent, is the way a lot of the internet marketeers work, isn't it? When they do their ads, you can make loads of money. Look at it's aspirational. Look at the Lamborghini that I'm driving. You could have one of these too. Yeah. So be intelligent. I always say it's a proposition, resolution, call to action. So the proposition is what you're actually, you're trying to sell. The resolution or the problem. The resolution is resolving the problem using emotion.
Correct.
I like that. That's a great add-on to that. Yeah. And then the call to action is go to this particular landing page.
Now the call to action needs to be the same as what's on the landing page.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily go to the landing page.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
What I meant, the call of action is then visit. If you want to resolve all this, then go to this particular location.
Yeah, but it might change slightly. So, for example, if you are a taxi company, you might just want them to ring you from the ad instantaneously and never come to your website because you're after a cab. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because
it's a different way of looking at it.
Because you hear things like when people are looking at Facebook advertising, what they're saying is, don't try to sell from the ad, try to get them to the website and sell from the website, mm-hmm. and in fact give something for nothing. And make them a part of your tribe. Is that what you're trying to do with this as well?
You are, because that's all to do with the sales journey again. If you get somebody to your website, give them something free, they're now in your sales funnel. You can then follow them up and change them as a customer, convert them into a customer. Depending on the product and service, of course. If it's an instant service where somebody needs a taxi, you're not going to take them anywhere near your website. They're just going to click the ad, ring up, can I have a taxi please? Completely different. If they take you to your website, you've got to realise how do you get customers. And giving away things free is a very, very good way of doing it. All they need is an email address and a telephone number. Telephone's even better, because if I ring somebody up and say, oh, you've just been on my website, and got into the conversation, I'm starting to hear what they are, who they are, I can then convert them to a customer. And this is why a lot of good companies do it. A lot hide behind that and just collect an email and then start firing emails at them. Let's be honest, how many emails do you really read in a day?
None. Ask Linda, I read that. She doesn't even think I know where Outlook is on my laptop. She's convinced of that. Listen, it's been fascinating, but I feel we've just scratched the surface.
You have.
And, I suppose this is why we have organisations like Dominic's, where you can go along to his website. We'll have a look at his website in a minute. But before that, Dominic, if you don't mind, if you can look straight down camera number 4 that's sitting there, the only camera that's got no number on it, and just tell us who you are, where you're from, and the key takeaways that we need to remember about when it comes to Google Ads. That'd be great. So take a breath. The airwaves are all yours.
Dominic Renshaw, owner of adextra.com Limited. We are a Google advertising company. Basically, takeaways for you guys. Keywords. Keywords are the most important thing of any campaign you ever do. have a research, use something called Google AdWords Keyword Planner. Just type in Google, you'll find it. Research keywords you want, look at which ones are the biggest traffic and go for the ones below those. Those are the ones that are going to be cheaper for you. The second one is, I told you about quality score. Make sure your keywords relate to your ads, relate to your website, whether that be a landing page or the general. That is absolutely critical. If you get those three things in place, you'll be 99% of the way there. There are two things I'm going to tell you that are the best thing to take away. So keywords, and make sure your quality score is good. Keyword, ads, landing page. Thank you very much.
Absolutely brilliant. If you want to go to Dominic's website, it's dead easy to do. As I said, just go to adextra.com. And I noticed this when I was looking at it earlier. Look at the way that they've actually got the menu bar to the side. Doesn't that make the site look really different? You know, every website you go to will have the menu bar up here, but here they've got it down the side. I really like that. I mean, that's the kind of thing that makes you kind of think, doesn't it? Some good information on there, you know. 5 questions, did they answer your questions, how to get in contact with them, their guarantee to you is all on there, and the key services that they're talking about as well, you know, Google AdWords, looking at your AdWords to Google Analytics, Googling your business, and also training if you want to bring some of that in-house as well. And you know, it's all about that meeting, planning, executing and testing. So many people forget it's all about testing, and there's a kind of a loop going on there. You test it, change it, refine it, make it work better for you. And if you do all those things, you're actually going to get the delivery that you really need as well when it comes to actually, can we just go back to the page again? Thank you. To the delivery. They're there to help you. If you want to find out more, just simply go to their website. It is adextra.com. Telephone number on the page, and you'll get through to Dominic, and they'll give you the appropriate advice that they need. Dominic, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the program today. It's been very interesting. It's funny, when we were looking at the program, I thought, yeah, we'll get through that. That'd be easy peasy to do. But it just seems to be so much information.
And it changes daily.
I know you've done the thing, but if there was one thing that someone could do today, what do you think it would be to their business and to their thoughts about AdWords and ads?
Well, the best thing to do is go and look at what you are thinking about advertising and see, does your website tell you that? That's the simple maths of it. That's the starting point, number one. Number two, if you want to get into Google advertising, make sure you either ring Google to help you out or get a professional in to help. Do not try doing this on your own, because you will just fail. Sadly, you will.
You will fail.
You will fail. So ask Google or ask an expert. Simple.
Dominic, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for being on the program today. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. We'll be looking at Google Ads. My guest has been Dominic. It's been an absolutely fantastic show. Hope you've enjoyed it today. Okay, that wraps up today's edition. What we got coming up on future programs, Claire Brumby is going to be on next week's program. She's going to be talking about growing and eating the right food to grow your business. Growing a food business is what she's going to be talking about. And it isn't just about that specific industry. What she's talking about here are the trials and tribulations of any entrepreneur when they're in startup phase. So that's with her next week. We've got Timothy Cooper. He's a business development director of the AAID. He's going to be joining us. Deborah Hume from Minerva Engagement. She's a neuroscientist, but she does so much more. She's also an expert for blue chip companies when it comes to HR. So if you've got issues within your HR team, but her neuroscience approach to the whole subject is really good. Deborah Hume on a future edition of the program. And that practically wraps up this edition of Business Connections Live. I hope you've enjoyed watching the program again. We're going to be back again next Monday. So until we do it all again next week, take care of yourself. And don't forget, back here live at 12 with Claire. Till then, bye for now. Bye-bye.